BBC Radio 5 Live.
I don't know what a podcast is.
That's brilliant.
Me playing on the left wing, it's not an option.
I'd probably cling to someone like yourself, try and hope that you'll protect me from the bullies.
Oh, it's Carl's fault.
Classic Carl, isn't it?
Damn you, Thomas Schaffenacker.
Was he a good dancer, Frank Lampard?
Oh, God, it's like bargain hunt.
Now I'm on the Madras and I'm on the verge of a Vindaloo.
Not sure that bit will make it.
If you manage to get a photo of Iniesta, I will...
Buy me a car.
No. Hello everyone, episode 10 now of That Peter Crouch podcast. I'm Peter Crouch and I've still not managed to shake off Chris Stark or Tom Fordyce.
That sounds rude, mate. We're back in the pub though.
Back in the pub. I feel much more at home here.
My concern is we're coming up to the Christmas period now and it's very hard to get into pubs around that time.
I don't think we will, but I'll tell you what, I'll look after you. We'll go to the Samrat.
Crouchy, what's going on with the Samrat?
Do we need a velvet rope?
We might need a velvet rope. We might well do.
We're really going to struggle with space, guys. I don't know what we're going to do about it.
Well, we are, because most of the people want to come. My dad's penciled himself in. He's number one.
Has he?
Yeah, he's penciled himself in. He's come in. Pingu texted me. Pingu and Preston.
What's the update with Pingu?
Yeah, he wants to come. He said, can I come? And I said, if you bring Pingu as well, you can.
So he hasn't done a Pingu impression for 20 odd years.
He said 23 years, he reckons.
So I like to think that before we have our Christmas special in the Samrat, the only thing he's doing...
Polishing.
Polishing his Pingu. So, if you haven't heard this podcast before, we have a different theme every week. We had a brilliant one last episode, which was the confessions one, Chris, wasn't it? We had some fantastic confessions of things that people have shouted at footballers and maybe regretted. I think we should have a second round of that because we had so many that came in. But today, it's what Jack Charlton refers to as goalkeepers.
Goalkeepers, special breed of men. They train alone until you need them for a game. So we'll do all our stuff as a team, everyone, and then they only come over right at the end just for the game. And I always wonder what they get up to on their patch of grass miles away. I said to one of the lads the other day, I said, what are you doing over there? Like, what are you over there, like, wine tasting and bit of cheese, bit of brie and discussing, like, the weekend's activities? It's a strange thing they do.
So I reckon there's going to be loads to go out about this goalkeepers episode today. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to say that at the start. I think it's going to be a good one today. We've got to say a big thank you and hello to everyone that is messaging us about the podcast from around the world. And I mean that literally around the world. We've had people get in touch from Australia. Shane sent us a tweet from a place, I'll be honest, I've never heard of. It's called Vanuatu. Tom, read that word.
Vanuatu. It's an island in the South Pacific, I believe. Vanuatu. I would say it's close to Fiji, but in sort of world terms, it's close to Fiji. But it would still be a hell of a trip from Fiji. It's in the middle of nowhere, basically. It's almost literally the other side of the world. If you got a globe and found us here in London, then span it all the way around Vanuatu.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
So he messaged us and said, "My morning walks in beautiful Vanuatu are now all the better for listening to you boys in the podcast. I hear Iniesta is coming here for his holidays too."
Right, so if Iniesta's going there, he might give me a bell, mightn't he? He might say, Crouchy, do you fancy Vanuatu for a weekend?
So you've never been there yourself?
I've never even heard of it, but if Andreas is going there, I'll see if I can get a picture of me and him in Vanuatu.
And then we got this email from Nick in South Africa. It says, "Hi Peter, really love the podcast. My Spurs mates passed this pod on to me. Would love it if you can give a shout out to Jamie, Carl, Dan and the GOAT. PS, not that Carl." Important qualification. Nice one, Nick.
Yeah, we can give him a shout out then. If it's not that Carl, it's fine.
Brilliantly, Jim has got in touch with a picture of him and Will Carling.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
And Jim says, "I've had it confirmed to me that Will Carling only wears Armani jeans." There's this brilliant picture of Will Carling, who looks delighted to have been hailed in the street by Jim. Oi, Will. Oh, he wants to talk to me about an amazing try I scored in the World Cup. Is it true you only wear Armani jeans?
Crouchy says you're wearing Armani jeans.
Poor Will Carling there. Like, where's he been, Will Carling? No, he's not on the telly or anything, is he?
Well,
he's a good rugby player, isn't he?
He does a lot of talks to businesses about leadership.
If he's not busy, we'll extend an invite to Mr. Carling for the Samrat as well.
One thing though, so he's still wearing Armani jeans. So Will Carling retired late 90s, probably about 97. I can't imagine he's still doing the same amount of gym work as he was then. So surely his legs have just shrunk down to the point where he can wear at least one other brand.
No, but maybe it goes from, how does it work, muscle to fat?
Exactly.
So he's got
right,
fat
yeah.
legs. Will Carling's got...
No, he's got fat legs.
Fat legs Carling.
He has to pour them into his jeans and try and get them up.
Worth, if you do see Will Carling out on the street, ask him, is it muscle or fat?
And are they Armani? Right, I got one here. Hi, lads. Peter Crouch's first robot dance wasn't at David Beckham's house. It was at his Year 6 party at North Ealing Primary School.
What?
I have a photo of him somewhere doing the robot dance. My name is Dr. Rob Fenton. My daughter Danny was in Peter's class.
Right, do you remember Danny Fenton?
Danny Fenton,
Danny
yes.
Fenton.
I know Danny Fenton, yeah. God, a long time ago. But I remember Danny Fenton was in my class, and I remember her dad was a doctor.
So he was at your Year 6 party. Now, do you remember what your Year 6 party would have been? So we're talking about 11 years old. The likely party scenarios would have been Panda Pops at the back.
Yeah, pandas, yeah. So I would have been on the pandas, and I would have had a good few pandas by now. I would have been 6 pandas deep now.
You would have been on... Yeah, you would have been 6 panda deep, boys on one side, girls on the other side.
Yeah. No
one's
You would have
talking.
been on the sherbet fountain as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had this, but in Year 6 discos, there was always a point where they would play 3 slow songs in a row. And I remember my first dance with Ashley Nwanzi. It was Casey and JoJo All My Life.
Cheesy.
Or Leanne Rimes' How Do I Live?
live?
The Titanic theme.
Oh,
My Heart Will Go On.
cheese there.
And do you know what I remember about it so vividly was she put her hands on my shoulders.
Oh, shoulders.
Thank
You're
goodness
in.
for that.
But I didn't know what to do, so I put my hands on her shoulders. And I always remember Laura Fitzgibbon in the background saying, like, down to the waist.
She's desperately
Down the
gesturing.
waist.
No way.
We look like zombies dancing.
They're trying to push each other down.
Do you remember your first disco dance?
I was probably a bit too shy and
roboted
gawky.
in the corner.
I'd have been roboting and trying to make someone laugh. Certainly at Year 6. I think Year 10, 11, I was still struggling.
Because that's the thing, if you loved football, you would generally wear, at that age, you wore football shirts to school discos, didn't you? And it was...
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Did you not? Were you more that you were one of the Ben Sherman? You were one of the boys.
I remember. I think we used to like point and throw things at the kids that wore football shirts.
Here's one from Ollie. Ollie has very kindly given us a 5-star review. That's nice of him.
Go on, Ollie.
And then Ollie says, I love this one. He says, when I started listening to the pod, I couldn't get my head around why the producers had put a slow motion slur on the whole thing. It made you all sound drunk. I went with it. I still enjoyed it. Later on, I realised I'd been listening to the first 5 episodes on half speed.
No.
It must have taken him
That's
forever.
amazing. How has he stuck with it?
Thanks for listening, Ollie.
Fair play to him. Must have really enjoyed it to go through 5 episodes on half speed.
All right, one more, boys. Hi, Chris, Tom, and Peter. Each episode of the pod is so funny. It's led me to forgive Crouchy for his 52nd minute equaliser for Stoke v United in 2011, which lost me £800 on the accumulator. I like that it lost them £800, as if like it was £800 at the start they lost.
What's Crouchy meant to do then? Like not score an equaliser in case someone who he's never met has got a bet he's totally unaware of?
I get this a lot.
I bet you do, yeah.
Like the amount of people that tweet you or just see on, you let me down for this. Like, I would have won 10 grand if you hadn't scored, or sometimes it's worse if you miss a chance because you're like, well, you let me down, you donkey. You're like, oh, sorry, mate. Like, I'm just playing.
Is it ever on your mind though?
What? Oh
when you
God,
imagine
yeah.
all this?
Barry from Wigan's got an accumulator on this.
Barry from Wigan's got. He's put £2 on me scoring.
Barry from Wigan, yeah.
I'm sure I've seen you run away sometimes, just mouth, Barry.
That's for you, Bazza.
That was that celebration where he's running towards the camera. He's there going, Barry!
Bazza's out tonight.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Right, here's my theory on goalkeepers. I think goalkeepers are the drummers Drummers are in bands, but they're not really musicians. There's that great drummer joke, isn't there? What do you call someone who hangs around with a musician? A drummer. That is what goalies are.
Well, at the very start of this, would you call a goalkeeper a footballer?
No, they're not footballers, are they?
They're handballers, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a totally different sport, and I've found, being around them, they are different as people as well. But obviously, they're my nemesis, really.
They're your enemy,
I'm
aren't they?
constantly trying to beat a goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper's constantly trying to keep a striker from scoring. So there's been so many, that would have been moments where I've gone, it's a beauty, like this is going to be a great goal, and they've foiled it.
They've messed it up for you.
Or if a keeper's thrown one in, you've gone like, yes. And if you've got a good goalkeeper, it just breeds confidence. You just think, even if your defence gets beat, you're not going to beat the keeper. And I think, the great teams have always got a top keeper.
You say that, but is that the most important position on the pitch, would you say?
Being a striker, no, I wouldn't say that. But I do think it's very, very important. I feel that up until this year, no one was putting enough money into your keeper. I think we were smashing transfer records, 200 million, 80 million for players, midfielders and forwards, and no one was smashing the records for the keepers. And there's been times where I just don't understand why people haven't invested in the top keeper.
So do you think that's something that happens from a younger level? Because if we take this right back when you're playing football at school, often the goalkeeper was just last picked kind of person. It was, often no one wanted to be in goal.
I think the secret to why people like being goalkeepers is an acceptance that you are different. Make one mistake, you can lose the game, but you're different.
It's more negative than positive, though. Even from a young age, you are judged by your mistakes as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, the least mistakes you make, the better a goalkeeper you are. And it's like, hold on a minute. As a striker, you're scoring and it's such a good feeling, such a good thing, but you're destroying stuff, aren't you? You're destroying. But there's also that fact of, if they pull off a save, sometimes there's one close to them that they'll palm and give themselves a little spin. And that is classed in the football world as for the cameras. And that happens a hell of a lot. Ones that are quite close to them that get parried with a flick that you don't need to. And obviously, as forwards, we give them a bit of stick. And so even when they pull off an absolute unbelievable save, we'll say, just catch it.
Catch it!
You're not a believer in the fist, are you, Crouchy?
No, I've never been a fan of the fist. I think the fisting for me should never happen.
There's no place in the modern game.
I don't think so.
The game's gone.
So I think just catch it.
I have this really vivid memory of us all being in a circle around a guy called Richard Harris. And our job was to kick the ball at him quite hard. He'd catch it and have to roll it out to the next person, the whole team around him.
Yeah,
it was quite an intimidating experience. He cried. Hated this so much he burst into tears, and we were told to keep going with the ball.
What?
Hang
on,
he was crying.
What sort of was this a pin stars?
This was another pin stars trick. I mean,
they're repeatedly booting a football at a crying boy.
I know. Listen, some of the tactics were a bit iffy, but I think from a young age, have you found the goalkeepers to be treated slightly different?
I've always found the goalkeepers that come out the other side of being the kid last pick, getting goal, then they've come out the other side, the ones that get to an elite level have gone the other way to be very dominant figures and say, right, you're not making me cry. Do you know what I mean? A lot of them are big personalities. And I think you have to be, because it's only you. It's one person. You've got to be big and strong to be able to take on. If you make a mistake, if you throw one in, the next cross that comes in, the next shot that comes in, it's quite nerve-wracking. It's you've got to be a big character.
Here's an example of a weird goalkeeper, okay? Keith Brannigan, who used to play for Bolton, he made his own guitars.
Is that a focus thing then? Maybe they do origami or something. Is there some kind of weird focus that they have to have?
I totally agree, because it's
train spotting or something.
Lots of them have different passions that footballers aren't normally associated with. David James was a fantastic artist. We mentioned Rob Green reading a book, for instance. How dare he, on a coach, read a book? Hard for us to comprehend. But he was reading a book, and it wasn't just a sports autobiography, it was an actual book.
So when you say they're a different breed to the rest of the team, do you think that there's a place for goalkeepers to be captain?
Slightly dubious about that.
They can see everything.
Yeah,
they see
exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
Technically, they're in the best position.
But they need a massively loud voice to communicate that vision to anyone else in the team, wouldn't they?
I agree. I just feel like they're just a bit too far away from the action.
I'm getting a vibe that you're goalkeeperist.
Yeah, I'm slightly, yeah. But a goalkeeper is. An ideal captain would be a central midfield player or a centre-half for me. I think a goalkeeper, unless he's special, shouldn't be captain.
You were telling us in previous podcasts repeatedly that you've got the biggest feet in football. And
Here we go.
Don't deny it, because
I never said that,
Chris and I
ever.
have both heard it.
Yeah, you did
and it's a
say
fact.
that.
Of the goalkeepers you have known, who has had the biggest hands?
Aurelio Gomez.
How big?
Well, they were just abnormal. He had fingers, and then he had fingers on top of the fingers. So they were like, they literally like you've never like if you had to design a goalkeeper's hands, you would Gomez's hands. They were unbelievable. Like even his arms were a bit longer. They shouldn't be that long, basically, and his fingers were so long. He was perfect goalkeeper shape. Unbelievable. Honestly, some of the saves he pulled out. Top drawer.
Did he have any, with his massive hands, did he have any party tricks?
Could he do like a packet of cards or something?
Could he
Just,
exactly shuffle a pack of cards in one hand?
I'm sure he did have party tricks. One of the nicest fellas you'll ever meet. I loved him at Spurs. Everyone loved him. You couldn't not like him. Real nice fella.
Was he not also a true goalkeeper, apart from the fact he had these freakishly large hands? When he took a goal kick, it was like it was the first time he'd tried to kick a football.
You see, I don't mind that with a goalkeeper.
It's true.
It's so true. He wasn't, the best with his feet. And it got to the stage where I was at Spurs, and he was when he had the ball in his arms in the penalty box, he would just throw it as far as he possibly could.
Oh, but isn't that the worst? Taking it back to Sunday League when you had a goalkeeper who was decent, but the defender would have to go and take the goal kick.
Go and take it. Yeah,
you don't get that so much.
No,
in the Prem.
And if you're an adult, you should be able to kick the ball out of your box.
Yeah.
We've also got this situation now, haven't we, where the top goalkeepers, like let's talk about Ederson. Ederson has got an amazing right foot. He's pretty good with his left foot. In fact, do you think, at what level of football could Ederson play centre midfield? Assuming, let's give him a centre midfield engine. At what level could he play?
What I see in matches, yeah, he looks like he could play, definitely.
Literally playing the Premier League?
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, you only see him, he's never under any pressure, really. I know he pings it out. Put someone in central midfield is very different to being able to see the whole picture.
But also, is this just a fashionable thing to say at the moment in that...
Well,
do you really think it's that necessary?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think, when Guardiola came in and he said he didn't want Joe Hart, and to me, I was like, he's our best goalkeeper. He was. That statement's a big, big statement to come in and say, England number one, Man City number one. No, don't fancy him. Big, big statement. I thought, you've got to get this right now, because if you don't, people will come calling for you. Hold on a minute, because you got rid of a top keeper. And he didn't get it right at first. Obviously, there was a bit of teething problems where Bravo came in and Caballero, and there was a bit of teething, really. And he stuck to his guns, fair play, and obviously ended up with Ederson, who's incredible with his feet. And now you look at it now and you just think it's a stroke of genius, because it's like an extra player on the pitch. It genuinely is, because if the centre-halves are in trouble, they can go back to the keeper and know that he's going to keep the ball. He can roll it back into midfield. He can go out the other side. And for the way they play, it's absolutely perfect. And it looks like he sort of found something that no one really saw. No one really saw a goalkeeper being able to play as well as the rest of the players. And it genuinely looks like they've got an extra man at times.
Do all keepers have delusions about how good they are? Like in training, do all goalkeepers think, do you know what, I could probably play up front?
Yes. Hundreds of them believe that. I think David James proved.
Yeah, so Stuart Pearce was City manager and they were playing Borough, and I think it was whoever won that game would qualify for the UEFA Cup as it was then. And Stuart Pearce has had the idea, did City need a goal, Crouch? You've like 5 minutes to go.
Yeah,
he's pulled off Claudio Reyna, his midfielder, brought on Nicky Weaver, I think. So he's got John Macken, who's a £5 million striker, on the bench. And he's going, do you know what, I'm going to stick my goalie up front.
Must have been a dark day for John Macken, I think, when he was...
That's when you know, isn't it?
When he turned to JMO instead of him. That must have been a dark place.
It was like football suddenly gone mad. He was just charged around like an insane bull, didn't he?
I get the idea. He's massive,
he is
Dan.
massive.
I thought he could, but he did cause probably a little bit more trouble than good.
But goalkeepers going forward is every
joy,
football
isn't it?
fan's favourite thing.
Oh, it's fantastic when they go up for a corner. It's exciting.
excitement.
It's so exciting.
Also, it's the little look around, the little naughty look over the shoulder to the bench. Like, am I actually doing this? Like, can I go there, Mum?
Even better than the keeper going up is the keeper scrambling back.
Panic.
There's nothing better than the keeper scrambling when they've got the ball back, and it's like, do they play any passes? Do they go for the shot? You know, the keeper's like, do I go and tackle him or do I run as fast as I can? It's possibly one of the finest things in football.
It's like they can't run, isn't it? Because you never see goalkeepers run. You see them maybe jog out 3 or 4 yards or throw.
Mate, it's like they're putting Benny Hill music over the top of it. It's incredible. But isn't it odd that whenever a goalie does go up for that last-minute corner, it gets dangerously near them every
Always
time?
Involved. I just think sometimes as well the adrenaline's pumping that much, they just throw everything at it, don't they? And it's like literally last chance saloon. But having said that as well, when a forward goes in goal,
that's a beauty.
That's another one. Like, or not a forward, a player. It's just so wrong. They save everything with their feet.
Face.
They forget they use their hands that they can. The shirt's completely wrong. They've got someone else's name on the back.
They never tuck it in.
It's never tucked in.
But that's how you realise that a goalie is good, because you take for granted how good a goalie is when you're watching it, and then you see an outfield player go in, and that's where you really realise how good they are.
There is a specific skill.
Yeah.
Because you go, it's just a keeper, just catch it and kick it. You know, it's not hard. But actually, when you put someone else in goal, you do realise that they look so awkward.
Do goalkeepers train? Are they separate from you for a bit, or is it for the whole time that they do their own thing? How does it work?
Yeah, it's bizarre. They always go out at a different time. They go out a lot earlier.
Do they?
They do their own gym regime, like just with the keepers. They use a specific area different to where we train. We'll be doing our training, and then you only ever see them when you play a match or
Really?
a little game situation.
Don't they need to be more involved and have a better understanding, like the quick break? So how, so much now you see a goalkeeper lob it out, and they need to have an understanding of where people are to be able to take the ball and go.
But it's only really when you do like a Thursday or a Friday when you're doing team shape, they need to be involved. They need to be involved in set pieces where everyone stands, and they've got quite a big voice on set pieces, certainly defensive set pieces, because where a keeper wants his defence is very important. But yeah, other than that, they just train on their own. Like Monday to sort of Thursday, you barely see them. It's a strange thing.
Is it just the keepers firing shots at each other, or what? What is going on?
There's also,
generally?
they do a lot of two-touch, keeping the ball up, skill drills, passing the ball out of play.
That was all stuff that you did at Sunday League, right?
I watched them. I was doing them when I was 9 or 10, but it's lovely to watch them try. Really
Bless
is.
them.
That's why they have to do it separately.
It's too embarrassing.
It's too embarrassing.
It's cute watching them.
So they do all this, and then they get absolutely no credit for it, because you go to a ground, you never see anyone in a replica goalie top.
I do remember when I was a kid and someone had the long, because they were always long sleeve, weren't they?
Yeah.
The goalie kips. You'd see someone, and I'd say to my dad, "Look, have a look at him. He's got the goalie kit on."
I think more people should be encouraged to support the goalie. Have you never gone back and celebrated with the goalie?
Well, what I was about to say
This
is,
one's for you.
What I do love is when a keeper is in the celebration. Pepe Reina used to do it quite a lot. Just jumped and got involved. He did it for Spain a couple of times. He's done it from the bench as well for Spain.
What about keepers celebrating penalties and such? So let's take Ricardo, 2006. I met him. Everything about me wanted to hate him, but we went through that penalty shootout, and it was interesting hearing how much he just wanted to get into the heads of you guys, and he would celebrate hard. He said that he looked over to the halfway line and could look at the players in the eyes, and he saw the England heads go down.
That didn't happen. You're talking about top players like Lampard, the Gerrards, Hargreaves took one, I think, Carragher. So I don't buy into that.
What about when he took his gloves off?
That's like him
Ricardo?
bearing his arse.
They're trying to get an
It
edge.
is like bearing his arse.
It's anything they do, they try to get an edge, aren't they? And goes back to Grobbelaar's spaghetti legs. It's something to put you off. And I think pointing to where you're going to go, scuffing up the penalty spot, there's loads of things. But nowadays, before every game, there'll be someone with the iPad going round and showing the penalty taker to the goalkeeper. So he'll watch 5 or 6 penalties, where they usually go, what they normally do. If that happens, if there's a penalty shootout or if there's a penalty in the match, he will know where his favourite spot will be.
So what about penalties for England?
I didn't take many, to be honest. I remember taking
Was that
one.
your choice?
Well, there was always a penalty taker assigned. I think 2006, I played, but Rooney got sent off in that game. I came on, so I wasn't a designated penalty taker. I was the first one after the 5, so if it got past the 5, I would have taken one.
Where were you going to stick it?
You can't say that's your spot.
Of course not, because then they'll
unless
go
the
for
circumstances. If the keeper's going there every time, you do have to change. But you practice. I mean, I watched Frank Lampard after every England training session take 5 or 6 penalties after every session, and it's no coincidence that he's a top penalty taker. I watched David Beckham after training, and he would take 5 or 6 free kicks after every training session without fail. Wayne Rooney used to do it.
But you were watching. What were you doing?
I was on the coach by then, having a cup of tea going, isn't Beck's professional?
Come and see. I can see Lampard doing 5 penalties. Beck's doing free kicks.
Cool, look at these boys. That's why they're top players.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Something about goalkeepers that's always puzzled me. When as a striker you score a goal, Peter, you celebrate. But when a goalkeeper makes a fantastic save, he gets angry. Yeah. He spends his moment of glory shouting at people.
It's always been, since the start of time, make a good save, barrack your defenders and abuse them. It's a very strange concept that I've never quite understood. Obviously, I get the adrenaline's pumping.
I mean, a wonderful idea that someone does a save and they just whip out a quick robot. Yeah. Just bosh a quick one out.
But then they look like a complete knob if they score from the corner.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can't see Pep taking too kindly to a goalkeeper celebrating, doing the fishing rod or something like that.
But on the same way, you don't have to abuse your defence either.
Does it not serve the purpose of not only saying, I have made an amazing save, but the goalkeeper's also saying, I've bailed you mugs out?
Letting the fans know that, look what I'm dealing with, yeah. Look at these, they're not on my level. And I think as players, it's not a nice thing to watch, the old arm wave at a teammate. It's definitely something to do with, look how great I am.
There's almost a sort of head chef mentality with it.
Yeah, that's a
kind
great
of Gordon
shout,
Ramsay quality to a goalkeeper.
You have to be angry to be a good one.
Yeah, and equally then, when a goalkeeper screws up, I'm actually thinking of Rob Green here.
Against the US in
against
2010
US,
World Cup, Clint Dempsey's little grass cutter.
Yeah, you must all look at him and have your arms out going, what the hell was that?
Well, I was out there then, and it's a horrible, horrible place. And as soon as if I make an error, if I miss a chance, I've got an opportunity to put that right. I felt so sorry for him because he was replaced straight away by David James, and he had to spend the rest of the World Cup sort of out there but not playing, having made the mistake. And he's a lovely fellow, Rob Green, and I felt sorry for him the whole time he was out there. And these things play on your mind, and I think as a goalkeeper it must be even worse because at least I can run around and kick someone. Do you know what I mean? If I missed a chance, go bollocks, I'll just 2-foot someone. But as a goalkeeper, you're just standing there. All you've got is your thoughts, and you're like, bollocks, I've made a mistake. And as a forward, if you know you're going to get another chance in the game. Having said that, I know that I've missed a chance. So if we win the game, that chance is never going to be shown ever again. If they go and score now, they're clean through on goal, and I go, bollocks, that chance is going to be shown on match day.
I reckon he is genuinely talking to himself, going, shit.
If they score here, because we're 1-0, say we're 1-0 up, and they break through in the 89.
Please God, please God.
That chance is going to be shown now.
With the Rob Green thing, what was it like in the team hotel the next day?
We're not going to go over and hug him and stuff, but, we certainly didn't leave him out. He's just made a mistake, and it's just obviously the fact that it was such a high-profile error and it cost us a little bit, but we got through the group.
Has a goalkeeper ever apologised, for example, to help them move on with it, maybe?
Yeah, it's one of those where Rob Green's a top goalkeeper, but if a goalkeeper keeps making these continual errors, then it's like, hold on a minute,
How many do you have to make then before you sack him off?
No, I don't think there's a certain amount, but if you're making mistakes and costing points and games, then we're all shrinking wallflowers. We can't say, hold on, there's got to be a time where you go, hold on a minute, you're costing us now. But the odd mistake from a top goalkeeper, I mean, people talk about David James's mistakes, but I played with JMO, and he's one of the best goalkeepers that possibly the best goalkeeper that I've played with. Incredible for 90 minutes, but, his mistakes are highlighted. But that was because he was so brave in his goalkeeping. He would come out for things that people would stay at home for. They wouldn't come and claim some of the crosses that he came out and claimed. And that takes so much pressure off the defence when he comes and dominates his penalty area. And yet, when the mistakes happen, they look bad because he's miles out of his goal, claiming a ball that is not rightfully his.
If I was a world-class goalkeeper, right, and I'd made a stupid mistake, does just no one talk about it and they move on? Or do they come and have a word with you? Or does, even better, I'd like to imagine the manager has all of you in one room before they turn up and just say, look, before he comes in, we need to cheer him up a little bit. It's like,
for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow.
Obviously we never see this side of it. Like,
we don't sing to them when they come in team meetings, but no, I think...
Would you do a group hug?
No, not at all. I actually think the opposite. I think the more you pander to him or make him feel good, the worse it is, really. Football's quite a cruel game, and I think taking the piss out of him is the best way to sort of... Because he knows that you're doing it behind his back. He might be like, what's he doing?
Confront him, so you'll throw him something.
Just give him some abuse.
Catch that.
Catch that. You didn't do that last night, did you? Do you know what I mean? Though, you're like, you're best confronting it.
He comes down for breakfast next day and you're all lobbing rolls through his legs.
Yeah, just give him a bit of stick. I mean, that is the way that football is universally dealt with. Confront it head on, laugh about it, move on. But I've seen it affect players, and I think the more you sort of, I hope he's okay. And at the moment you start going down that route, it's false. People are doing it behind his back. People are doing it in the national press. Confront it head on, and I think that's the best way. Certainly for me personally, I've been through droughts and things like that, and when I do go through those, you don't want people whispering and laughing at you behind your back. You want them to abuse you to your face.
Does the manager treat the goalie totally different?
No, it does happen. The keeper and the goalkeeping coach have their own click, and the manager will only get involved in the goalkeeping side of things if he's fucking up. Do you know what I mean? If the goalkeeping coach said, yeah, you've got this covered, he was great again today, like, you just do what you're doing, and the minute he starts throwing a few in, it's like, hold on a minute, you need to do this, the manager will take control then. But the goalkeeping coach is in charge of the goalkeeper until things become a problem. It's the manager has to step in. And I think that is a slight on the goalkeeping coach if he has to.
Surely the weirdest thing about goalkeepers is the third choice goalkeeper.
It's such a bizarre job. I mean, you can go 10 years without seeing a match.
Well, do you remember the story of Stuart Taylor? He made his debut at Arsenal, I think, in 2000 or 2001.
He's my age. I've roomed with him
really?
on a few occasions with the under-18s.
So he's made something like 14 appearances in some crazy number of years because he's always been the reserve goalkeeper. And he's clearly a fantastic goalkeeper.
He was a good goalkeeper, yeah. He was a very good goalkeeper.
What a strange existence.
But he's obviously made a conscious decision to go, like, I'm not too bothered about appearances anymore. This is my job. It's training Monday to Friday. But they're an important part of the squad.
Do you think being a third choice goalkeeper kills your game as a goalkeeper? Because you're not going to be playing enough to keep that level up.
Yeah, you cannot replicate a match. When I come back after some holidays, do pre-season training, I think, right, yeah, I'm at it. And then you play your first game pre-season, you're breathing out your arse. Like, I am nowhere near match fit at all. And I think it's the same for a goalkeeper. It's like sharpness of mind, of reactions. You can train. But I know, obviously, one goalkeeper, I won't mention his name because I don't know him that well. I don't know how he would take it. But his nickname was Bonus.
Was Bonus?
Because for the fact that he was part of the matchday squad for years, and obviously if you're part of the matchday squad, you get the bonus. Didn't play for 10 years and got every single bonus. Everyone got.
Was it Carlo Cudicino?
No comment. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's well known that, but basically you're involved in the matchday squad, you're part of the bonus system. You didn't play for 10 years, but obviously got the bonuses.
How do you guys, as the rest of their sort of outfield team, deal when the goalkeeper is getting all of the abuse? Because being a fan, it's the easy target for us.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of the bullshit. And I mean that's commonly known around football grounds. I am a fan of that. I do like that one.
You ever done it on the pitch?
No, but it's something I grew up with. You know, it's like.
Do you join in secretly when you're on the pitch?
The run-up's amazing. It's,
I think he joins in.
And then as soon as he kicks it, bullshit. I've always enjoyed that one.
Do you find goalkeepers are less funny, would you say, than...
Less funny? Yeah, I would totally agree with that, yeah. But I just think as human beings...
Why do reserve goalkeepers keep their gloves on when they're on the bench?
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's like when you play FIFA, at the moment on the new one, Petr Cech has got his hat on during a meeting about his contract.
Is he really? No way.
Clearly not expecting it to go well. Will goalkeepers ever have their gloves on in the canteen or on the team bus?
No. I didn't even. I've sat next to many. I've been on the bench a lot, and I've sat next to many a goalkeeper, and I don't think I've ever noticed them have their gloves on. I'll be looking in the future.
I've just had a thought, Crouchy. You were saying about goalkeepers being different and not as funny in that. Where do they rate in terms of the Christmas party?
Get a couple of drinks down a goalkeeper and things change. They become aggressive.
Bit moody.
Sort of bollocking you.
Yeah. It's like they've pulled off a good save on the Christmas do. Yeah, they're always a bit strange. You don't want to be next to a goalkeeper on a night out.
You're not going to qualify that further.
No.
You don't want to be...
There's no reasoning behind that. I've generalised massively.
I told you he's goalkeeperist, isn't he?
He is a massive
Well,
goalkeeper.
yeah, I'm a striker. What do you want me to do? I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it's us v them, isn't it?
So goalkeepers are your enemy, Crouchy. The point where you go to war with them is the one-on-one.
That's a big thing for a striker and a goalkeeper. That's when you're literally head-to-head. I always hate a goalkeeper that stands up as long as possible. You try, I don't know, a couple of fakes and sit them down maybe, and then I've always found personally I haven't got enough pace to get round him. Do you know what I mean? I need to try and sit him down as quick as possible and finish it.
So you'd never push it to the side and you're not going that way?
Well, I just always I loved Ronaldo as a kid. Brazilian Ronaldo was my hero, and he used to sit down a keeper with a double step over and then go past, and he was beautiful at it. It was an art form. But for me, I always felt that the keeper could go down and get back up again by the time I went around him. So I was like, it wasn't in my repertoire. When I was a kid, that was my thing. I was winning all the races. You know, I got to secondary school, I realised that I wasn't
winning all the races. Sounds like someone who wasn't winning the races.
Oh, I was smashing it. First
I was winning all the races, Tom.
Yeah. Honestly, I was.
At first school, I was quick, and that's what we used to do. Yeah, and I look at goalkeepers now. Like some of them, the best for me is in a one-on-one would be David De Gea. I just feel that he stands up as long as possible. He doesn't seem to actually go down, and even when they try and slot it either through his legs or round him, he managed to get a hand to it or get his legs down and save it. So it's definitely a battle of wits.
How does the eyes thing work? So, Chris, we always hear, don't we, about strikers giving a keeper the eyes. So you do that exaggerated look to the side you're supposedly going to put it.
It's got to the stage now where you're looking in one corner. It's obvious you're going in the other. It's like an obvious eye. So then you look at the corner and you go, right, I'm going in that corner. It's got to the stage now where you go, what if I go back there? So you're now giving him the eyes to eyes in back.
The triple bluff.
Why don't you just fucking blast it?
Fucking blast it. Yes,
that's the thing about this podcast. It's insightful. You know, the kids can listen.
Can you make that?
And they're learning all the time.
The next book that you boys bring out, fucking blast it.
Chapter 1.
Have you ever finished a goal like that? So you've been one-on-one. You however you do it, blast it, round the keeper, whatever, and then. Did you ever turn around to a goalkeeper that sort of pissed you off a little bit and be like, nah?
I always remember playing Palace away, and it wasn't necessarily the keeper, it was actually Andrew Johnson, and I had a penalty. I was about to take it, and Andrew Johnson said to me, he knows where you're going to the keeper, and the keeper looked at me and was like, I know. And I was like, how does he know? Because I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I got in my head anyway.
Seen into the future.
I was thinking, God, does he know? Does he know something I don't? Anyway, so Andrew Johnson's saying that he knows. I don't know, but apparently he does. So I'm thinking, no, so I'm taking this. It's a big penalty, this, playing for Southampton. You know, we could possibly get relegated. And I take the penalty and I score. The keeper goes the right way, but I've got it in the corner just well enough to sneak in. And I always remember, as I was running away, I was pointing at Andrew Johnson and the goalkeeper to say basically, and I remember saying, oh, you don't save those, I think I was saying, right?
Don't save those.
But it was obviously picked up on the camera and it looked like I was going, oh, you don't save, you know, I was going, you don't save those. If I was like having myself like, oh my God, like, look how good I am at scoring from 12 yards.
It made it like the penalty was the big achievement.
Like, look at me. But I was just looked bad because you couldn't see them. You could only see me pointing at the camera going, you know, like
I can score a penalty.
Yeah, I can score a pen. You know, it's terrible. But I was very young then. I actually remember coming to Liverpool and Jamie Carragher saying to me, what the fuck was all that about? You're giving it to the camera like that. Don't be doing that here, basically.
Why had that stuck in his brain?
Because I just looked like a bit of a knob.
His perception of you was that you were a bit of a knob.
Yeah, I was giving it large because I'd scored a pen. You know?
I like that bothered him, though.
Yeah, it did bother him. Yeah, little things like that did tend to bother him.
Well, you've reasoned it out now, and there'll be people that I'm sure have seen that and thought, God, Crouchy, what a knob.
And then I got sent off in the same match and we ended up getting relegated.
We've had a very nice email from Kev. Kev says, I'd been at a game, we were making our way back from Stockport on a Sunday after a game the day before. We settled down in our first-class seats with big hangovers after a day watching QPR and a night enjoying the finer side of Stockport's nightlife. One of the lads with us looked over and clocked Dev from Coronation Street.
Hero.
We assumed he'd be up for a bit of friendly banter and he seemed like a good bloke. A short while into the journey, another one of the lads found the great man, Peter Crouch. Someone then came up with the bright idea of a game of celebrity play your cards right. Both Crouchy and Dev were up for it, and so we were treated to both of them shouting, higher or lower in a first-class carriage. From memory, Crouchy was victorious and was presented with a winning prize of an advent calendar. He accepted the prize and gave it to a kid who was on the carriage with us.
Oh, this is amazing. This is amazing because it was sort of my first taste of getting recognised. I didn't really know what to do. So I was on a train and played for QPR at Stockport that day. And loads of QPR fans were on the train home. And I was just trying to keep my head down, like sort of having half a kip. And all the QPR fans came in and they were like, Crouch, and I was like, oh, right, nice one. They were like, and they gave me a beer. I said, right, and sort of basically told me, get up, you're coming with us. And they were mentioning something about Dev. I was going, like, I couldn't understand what they were talking about. And then, obviously, at the time, my mum's a big Corrie fan. I went with them back because I was basically told to. Came with them. I saw Dev from Corrie sitting there, and he gave me a look like, what's going on there?
It's like you've both been taken hostage.
Yeah, literally, yeah. He didn't want to be there.
Train hostages.
You know, like what they've done to him? He made the mistake of sitting on the inside of a 4. Oh. Right? So 3 of them have just gate crashed his table and he literally can't get out, can you? Unless he got under, he can...
So poor Dev's looking up at you.
He looked up for some help. He was like, God, are you normal?
Crouchy, help me.
And he was like, please help. They're talking about play your cards right or something. And I remember, so I was basically sort of shooed into the other side. So I'm opposite Dev now. We can't get out. I mean, there's 4 or 5. They're 4 or 5 deep. We're literally playing play your cards right. And fair play, he was great. He was, in the end, he was bang up for it. They gave us like a couple of beers. So I had a beer and Dev had a beer and all these QPR fans. And the whole sort of train seems to be in our carriage. By this time, I was just into the game. We were just playing higher or lower and I beat him.
There's two amazing things to this, right? Which is, actually, that'd be an amazing celebrity play your cards right if it was an actual show. And 2, no one even knows what his real name is.
That's a good point. I'm calling him Dev.
That's his real name.
That is not his real name. I have to say, he was a really nice fella.
That might be my single favourite Crouch story for this entire series of podcasts.
Also, for them lads, it must have been amazing, right? Fair play,
They
Crouchy.
were
Good job,
They were
man.
great. They were good lads. I've got one here from Jamie. He says, I was once in Brighton. I bumped into a lad I used to play football with. He was alone at the bar, wearing a dress and looking sad, which was odd. Turned out his mate, who was wearing a chicken costume that was too small for him, was getting all the attention. His mate was Crouchy.
Right, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, this is true again. So there's a lot to get through here, but my friend's girlfriend is from Brighton, and he wanted to go down and visit her. We said, all right, let's all go. And it was a weekend off. I think it was very early. I must have been 19 or 20. It was early days. Went down to Brighton. We had a great weekend. We went out on the Saturday night. And then the next day we stayed over and we had the plan to sort of have a few more the next day. But we all felt terrible. So it was myself, Ed and Ben. Ben came up with the idea of, thought it'd be great to go to a fancy dress shop. So we went in there, gave the shop our clothes and swapped with a costume and went out. It was 2 in the afternoon.
It's like Mr. Ben.
For no reason, yeah. So my mate Ed was a fairy, I was a chicken, and my mate who's got a red face was a tomato.
This is, I mean, like, I've had some amazing days out having fun with my mates.
It's great, yeah.
But you're saying 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was
You've
2 in the
gone and
afternoon
swapped your clothes.
on a Sunday, yeah.
By that point, you weren't pissed or anything. You were just like...
We'd had a couple, but we weren't really.
This was just for fun.
It was for fun. I actually remember, as we were walking down the road in the broad daylight, I remember passing the Tony and Guy and going in for a haircut.
In the chicken outfit.
In the chicken outfit. I always remember I sat down in the chair and my mates were buzzing. They thought it was brilliant. And I sat down in the chair and look, to be honest, the girls took it great in there. And she just gave me a little trim.
Just took one feather
my
off.
feathers. She just cut a couple of feathers. And I was like, she said, don't worry about payment. Amazing.
Oh, that's so good.
Suddenly, this is a whole podcast this evening. But Bobby Zamora was playing for Brighton at that time. And Bobby's a friend of mine. And I sent him a picture of us in the pub at 3 or 4. And he was like, he could not believe it. So he came down. I mean, he was just at home, probably doing what normal people do.
Mate, what a weekend. Can we encourage other people listening to this right now? If you're with a group of mates this weekend, I've never really done it like this. What you're saying is to do the Crouchy weekend is you need to go out and swap your clothes with a fancy dress shop. So you don't have any other clothes. You need to go turn up in your normal clothes. Right. You take the fancy dress 2, 3 in the afternoon, and then you enjoy the rest of the day. And we'd love to see the photos from that as well.
Crouch Kender, we'll call it.
Crouch Kender. Great one. All right. Please send us photos, but let us know. We'd love to see them.
So this is the time where we need to start thinking about what we'll talk about next time out.
Crouchy, I'll throw that over to you. What's the first thing that springs to mind?
There's so much more to cover that we barely cover any of the topics we do anyway.
Talk about them anyway.
Just talk nonsense. But kits is something I like to do. I think kits for me were a massive part of like boots and kits when I was a kid. Growing up, my first kit would have been a Chelsea kit. It had sort of diamond blue things. I think it was a Commodore. You go by like the sponsor. It was Commodore. I think
that's 88. About that?
Yeah, it might have been about that. It was like Colin Pates, Kerry Dixon, Pat Nevin, that era.
Kits it is. I think that's a great shout, Crouchy. We can fill our boots with that, can't we?
Fill our boots. We've got, first kits, worst kits.
Second kits.
Sponsors.
Third kits.
Fantastic teams.
Change kits.
Kit Simons.
Yes. Let's make it happen. Kits is on. We'll be back again.
Stronger.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Thank you so much to everyone who keeps on reviewing the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. Crouchy is completely overwhelmed by the number of messages to his BBC email address, and we do still want your confessions coming in to peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk. If we get a second series, we're definitely going to do another episode based on those messages, so fingers crossed Crouchy and his agent sign up for that. Couple of quick things before I go. Keep passing on the pod to anyone who'll listen, and go and download the free BBC Sounds app. That'll have you covered for your music, your podcast, and all your radio needs.